Hi,
Thanks for
Elliot.
having me. Thanks for having
Oh,
me.
delighted to on this wet and miserable day in Dublin, but you're not in Dublin, so hopefully you're getting better weather than we are.
Absolutely not. I'm in Devon and it's wet and miserable here too.
Well, Devon's supposed to be a nice part of the world, so if you're having poor weather, there's no chance for the rest of us. Tell me this. Um, as I take all of my sort of guests on a journey, it always starts on their last year of school, just to sort of see what's going through their minds. Where were you in school? What was your mindset like? What were you planning to do for the rest of your life?
Wow. So actually, it's very interesting because I had a very conflicting relationship with school. I didn't get on with most of the teachers. I was dyslexic at a time where dyslexia wasn't common.
Right.
So my mindset was quite anti-school. I was quite, you know what, my bar was quite low, actually. When I left school, I didn't have great ambition, to be honest. And it was only because I don't know what it was. I did a play and they were like, you know what, I'll do performing arts. So then I moved on to college to do performing arts. And that's actually where I found a bit of a flame inside of me. It's like, wow, you know, I could do this. So acting, dancing. I couldn't sing. I even had singing lessons, and I still can't sing.
Right.
And funnily enough, the year above me was a very famous female singer with a very famous female group. And
No.
in my year was someone who ended up in a very famous uh, kind of boy-girl band. So I was kind of skipped when I was in line. No one invited me to that party. And
Surrounded
then
by talent, is that it, Elliot?
yeah, surrounded by talent and better looking people. I think that was the problem. I
Oh,
just
you're
didn't make the
unkind to
mark.
yourself.
And yeah, and then from then on, I was like, you know what? Let me pursue this. And so I went to university and I did dance and drama.
Right.
And I was very disappointed with university because it was all theory, it wasn't practical. So I actually left that. I quit after 2 years, and I actually pursued a path onto dance school in Leeds, and that's where I really really found my passion and my flame and my drive, my determination, my focus. Because actually, when I enrolled, I couldn't get funding, so I had to
Right.
work day and night. Literally, it's a typical fame story. I'd finish the dance class, run to the pub, work in a pub, run home to sleep. Then on weekends I'd have another job. It's one of those. And then they were so impressed and they gave me a scholarship.
No,
So
that's good.
luckily,
Good.
yeah, it was very, I mean, I was very blessed.
No,
And
there's
that's
no
what got
blessing
me
about
through it.
that. I mean, it just shows determination and hard work that was respected by people.
Yeah, and I guess I made the right impression because also I was a lot older. I was 21. I had long hair. I was wearing gloves. I didn't fit the mold at all. And I remember the
Right.
principal saying, "You'll either be a massive success or a great failure. It's up to you." And that's the first thing she said when I enrolled. I was like, "Oh, thanks." Because they also like put me in like they put me against like the top level. So it's like, "Oh, great, thanks for the encouragement." So I think she was very impressed, and then she gave me the scholarship.
Yeah, I love that sort of black and white option that there didn't seem to be an in between stage that they were
There
pitching you
was
into.
nothing. She just gave it to me. I mean, she was eventually given an MB. She's passed away now.
All right.
But she was definitely one of my. She was a fan, but she was a fan that would never let you know there's a fan. So she put you down far more than she would encourage you. That was her style. She's very blunt, very very ruthless woman.
Yeah,
And
but she
then,
saw something in you, so obviously there was a respect there.
yeah, it certainly wasn't the good looks then. Hey,
Yeah.
we established that wasn't it. No, I'm kidding. And then yeah, so I did that and I graduated. I had a bit of a career for 5 years, and then I got injured. And that's really what moved me into the entrepreneurial world, the business world. That's what really pushed me into that. And again, it wasn't a direct route. It wasn't like oh, I've done this, let me launch my businesses. It's kind of an indirect way I ended up
Yeah,
as
but
an
tell me about sort of your mindset around. Okay, you've invested yourself in dancing, which is obviously something you quite like. There's a great discipline around it, and obviously there's great health benefits from being a good dancer as well. So, how did your mindset change when sort of being told, okay, you're injured, so this is not going to be a career for you?
Yeah, that definitely pushed me to a dark space, right? Because everything
Right.
it's that typical everything you've worked for, everything you've dreamt of is now in tatters. So actually what happened was I went into a kind of a numb place and I just existed. I just kind of got up, I did my thing, went home, I got up, did my thing, went down the pub, went home. It just become that laborious, boring life. And then I got a new job in a call center, and they saw
Right.
something in me, and then they got me into training. And that's what started to get me out of it, because I felt through training I was kind of doing what you do as a dancer. I was in front of people, I was, communicating something, and that gave me a little bit of,
Performing.
a little bit of performing. I mean, I wasn't dancing for them or anything like that, maybe on a Friday night after too many Guinnesses.
Expressing yourself in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it was never enough. There was always something missing. There was always like, it wasn't quite fulfilling that need that I got when I danced. And so my mindset, while I found something that was good enough, I knew it wasn't the end goal. It wasn't fulfillment.
Sure.
So my mindset was one of acceptance, but not satisfaction.
Right. So in terms of, okay, training department, you're working there. Are you training people, or are you more in the sort of management side, or where did you fit within the training department?
So with that company, I was a trainer. I was just, people came in,
Just
I trained them, and they went away.
And then you moved on to brands, getting involved in brands. How did that manifest itself?
Interestingly enough, there's a little bit of a there's a bit of a story, because I really wanted to leave that company. And actually, I said to God, I went for this job, and I said to the higher powers that be, I said, if I get this job, I will give up pork. And I and I got the job. So I've given up pork. And the way that came about was just sheer, I was looking for something in the same space, but something that I could grow into. Yeah, and then I ended up working with some huge brands, designing their training, designing their customer services. And I actually became the guy to go to when you wanted to design training in line with your brand. And that's really what I was positioned as that guy. And that taught me so much. I mean, I was managing projects that were like 50 million plus, big projects.
Right.
But I was designing the training for it.
All right. Am I allowed to ask about the pork?
Yeah, well, it was inspired by my cousin in Argentina. She did something different. She did something the same. She basically, obviously Argentina, the economy is pretty bad, and she said, if I get this job, I'll give up pork. And so she got the job and gave up pork. And so I was like, okay, let me see if this works for me. So I was like, if I get this job, I'll give up pork, and I gave up pork.
All right. I'm sure there's
And I
some
haven't
link in
had
there
pork since.
that shot over my head, but anyway.
Well, it was just like, if it's more like fulfilling. It could have been anything. Could have been chocolate. Could have been. I just remember the time going, well, she gave up pork and it worked for her. I'm going to try that. I'm going to model that. If it works for me, great. So I haven't had pork since, when was it? I can't even remember, like 2005.
Yeah,
So
I'll tell you what, that could be more serious, as you promised to give up maybe smoking or drinking,
yeah, well, I didn't smoke at the time, and I don't know. I mean, maybe that's my next promise, right? If I get out
Yeah,
something, I'll
yeah,
give up
swap it for the
drinking.
pork. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Build on it.
So you got involved in coaching, and that also prompted you. You had a name, the Coach in a Hat. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So what happened there was, when I was working with these brands, again, satisfied, unfulfilled. And then I started to go, what will make me a better trainer? And then I started coaching. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can actually impact people's lives. And so then I left that and started to build my coaching business. And the way we launched is, I launched myself as the coach with a hat. And that came about because I entered a competition called Britain's Next Top Coach. And all the videos I was wearing a hat. It wasn't on purpose. And then
Right.
people started to recognize me. Oh, you're that Elliot. You're that coach with the hat. And so eventually we were like, well, if that's how people recognize me, let's turn it into a brand. And that's what we did. So we launched the coach with a hat. And we work with entrepreneurs on their confidence to launch the business. So I wasn't a confidence coach, I was the confidence to launch a business coach.
All right. Tell me a bit more about that. What were the barriers to people launching a business? When you talk about confidence, maybe talk a bit more about that whole area.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty timeless. I think a lot of what I dealt with at the time was the fear of failure. The concept that they lacked something, or they lacked resources, or they lacked the skills to do it. I think a lot of it was also the illusion that it will happen quickly. Like, how long this is going to happen quick? I dealt a lot with lack of focus, lack of drive. And these are people that turn to me to work with me. This isn't like I plucked them off the street, right?
Right.
And also I think a big barrier was them thinking that their purpose was one thing when it was really another. So they bought what I would call a Hollywood purpose versus their own unique purpose. So those were some of the bigger barriers that we got.
Would you like to give us an example, or the audience an example of because it might be relevant to them, sort of that Hollywood sort of ambition as opposed to maybe a more in-depth personal one?
Yeah. So there's a couple, like, the typical, I want to reach 1 million people. I want to do this. I want to be the next Tesla, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that ambition if it's real to you. And what I mean by a Hollywood purpose is something that they think they should be doing versus what's real to them. So, for example, I used to have a bit of a Hollywood purpose. And I used to be like, I'm going to bring peace to the Middle East, right? That's going to be, that's my purpose. And, when I kind of did a lot of work on my values and what I stand for, my brand, who I really am, I realized what's really important to me is to be a great dad, to be a great husband, and to serve the entrepreneurial community in whatever capacity that is. That's my purpose. Right. That's real. That drives me every day. While the other one was like this big Hollywood montage that I was playing in my head that I'm going to reach one day. And it's a great thing if that was really who I was, then I wouldn't be here. I'd be in the UN and I'd be campaigning and I'd be doing mediation and things like that. And if you look at my behavior versus that, and that's always the indicator, then it wasn't a real purpose. And I'm honest enough to say that. I would love that to be the case. I believe in it, but it's not enough to drive everything about me, my whole beingness, versus being a great dad and being a great husband and my love for the entrepreneurial community. That drives me every day, So that's kind of a good example there.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good one. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs fail to see that if they were asked the question, would you swap the happiness of the loved ones around you and your passion for getting up every day and all of those things that you value now for that sort of Hollywood lifestyle? I think they'd have some serious thinking to do about it.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, doing that. This, of course, confidence. I know you've written a number of books. Was there one that fitted in around this initial coach with a hat?
Well, there was 3 under the coach with a hat. I think
3?
The one.
Oh my goodness! You're not just happy with one book. 3, okay. Tell us
4 in total, but the 3 that fit under the coach with the hat. I think Power to Succeed, my first bestseller. That's kind of where I explore a lot of what we've discussed, a lot around being true to your values, because again, it's based on my own experience, true to your purpose, true to who you are. It's based around me really healing and dealing with a lot of my internal conflicts and finding direction and purpose through that. And that's what Power to Succeed is all about. Forgiveness. And because what prompted Power to Succeed really is I went to Australia. I followed a girl to Australia.
Sure.
She dumped me for a billionaire. I had to take a good look at my life going, oh my God, why did this happen to me? Right. And through that came the book Power to Succeed. So it's all based on real healing.
Right. Yeah. And this is just a story that in your life that others face in different ways throughout their own lives. And you're just showing how you can manage to cope with it.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm particularly on the bad end of things in life. I haven't had an easy life. I've had plenty of challenges, but I look back and I think without comparing, there's a lot of people a lot worse and there's a lot of people a lot better, which is why I think actually, the whole compare is really dangerous. It's we talk about comparing to despairing. So because all you'll notice is what you don't have. Yes. But I think, the road's linear, right? There's people ahead of you, there's people behind you. And it's up to you to kind of stay in your lane in a good way. But I do believe that you can overcome pretty much most things in life with the right mindset, the right approach, the right focus. It doesn't mean it'll be overnight. It doesn't mean it'll be easy, but it'll be worth it. And especially now with what's going on in the world and the battle with mental health that's on the rise, sure. And there isn't a generation that's not affected by it. However, I was interviewing a friend of mine who was also a presenter on radio, and he struggled with mental health. And he
Right.
says sometimes the only thing that keeps him going is the thought that he's going to beat it. Like the
Right.
whole think of your kids and the whole that just makes you feel worse because you feel guilty. He's
Mm.
like, the only reason sometimes I do it is to say that I've done it. And
Yep.
that's just enough to keep him going. So yeah, I am an example. Am I a shining example and the best? No, but I am one example for people that you can overcome those things.
Just there, perhaps you might tell our listeners where they might find out more about you.
Well, they can find the book How to Succeed on Amazon if they
Right.
want to. And of course, they can find me on the normal Instagram at Speaker Express, on the Facebook Speaker Express, Elliot K on LinkedIn, spelled correctly, double L, one T, and then Kay, no E at the end, all those bits. you know, that's how people can find. Feel free to reach out, if they want to, if I can help in any way about anything we've discussed, I'll just reach out, ask the question.
Sure. In tandem with sort of getting involved in strategy, you've identified speaking as a great marketing tool. Would you like to tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the time to use your voice for good, right? This is the time to speak because yes, it's noisy, but people are looking for hope. People are looking for guidance. People are looking for reason. People are looking for comfort. And you could really be that person that's doing that through speaking. Now, I think part of the challenge with speaking is it comes with a whole selling the dream and thousands of people, rapturous rounds of applause, which is great, right? But that's not the world we're currently living in. Speaking is one of the most effective marketing tools you can have. Why? Because we're always communicating. Some of us are really good, some of us are really bad. Now, if you can utilize your voice, which doesn't cost you anything, to communicate the value of your business, your brand, to help people with their mindset, to enroll people to work with you, it's phenomenal. And you know what? With today's resources, you spend very little money in terms of marketing. It's one of the best tools you have for marketing. Warren Buffett said that years ago. The first thing he did is enroll in public speaking training. Why? So he can communicate better and he can chat women up. He met
Yeah.
his wife. He attributes meeting his wife to it, right?
Yeah.
So if nothing else, you learn to chat people up better. But, speaking is something I've used throughout the 3 businesses I've run. We train people up on a regular basis. And actually, it breaks my heart a little bit when people you can see they're so talented. They've got a great product, but they
Sure.
won't get on stage. And the problem is if you're not getting on stage, your competitor is. And I mean stage as in virtually or
Sure.
physically. It means someone else is standing in your spot speaking about your product, but it's them.
Yes,
And
of
I think
course.
people are really missing out. And I think people need to move with the times. And, it has to be a part of your marketing and growth strategy. Speaking these days with social media, with the volume, with the noise, you've got to be able to stand out your competition. And I don't mean you'll send a coder that likes to sit in a room,
Mm.
out there, but the face of the brand needs to be speaking.
No, and I think that's a very, very good message. And of course, what most people tend to forget is it's a skill like anything else that you need to learn.
Exactly. No one okay, some are born better, but anybody can learn to speak. And that includes introverts. And we work with lots of introverts. Yes, you have to work a bit harder for the energy, but it's a skill. And yes, anyone can do it. Again, doesn't mean you'll grab it first time and everyone will run to the back or everyone will buy from you and everyone will applaud you. You'll bomb quite a few times. And even when you're really experienced, you bomb. But what's important is to persevere. And again, something we love teaching is progress over perfection. You
Yes.
know, if you can make progress, you're going to get there. But if you wait for progression, you'll never move.
Right. Just elaborate a bit more on that.
Well, let's put it this way. For those of people that remember the Beatles, right?
Yes.
They released hundreds of songs, right?
Yeah.
They made progress. They just song after song after song. Were they all hits? No, right? Steven Spielberg has released loads of films. Were they all blockbusters? Not necessarily. Oprah, How many TV episodes had she released? Were they all tearjerkers? No. But it's about that continuous progress. And the more you're moving forwards, the more you're likely to get to your goal, right? And it's about letting go of perfection. It's about moving forwards. And by doing that, you're gradually, and the word is gradually, you'll gradually get to where you want to go. But too many people are obsessed with the overnight, the quick fix, I'll just do this a little bit and I'll get there. No, it's going to take time. Progress, progress, progress. You know, if I think about the days of when I was a dancer, you know, every day we'd go back to basics and you do the same thing every day.
Sure.
And you would practice the same thing every day, because every day you tweak a little bit, or you'd get one thing, another thing would go, right? You'd like manage to balance here, but then you fall over here. It's the same with speaking. It's the same with building a business. It's the same with your mindset. It's a never ending journey. And if you're not accepting that it's progress, then you'll never move. You'll stay on the couch. And if you're obsessed with perfection, it's never good enough. And
Yes,
that's what I mean by using that.
Yeah, I suppose I always equate perfection with artists, that if you were to take that mindset of being a perfectionist, you'd never sell a piece of your work.
Absolutely.
You'd be working on the one piece for the rest of your life. You'll always find something to do.
And few of us have the privilege of doing that.
That's true. That's true. Yes. And also we're overly critical of ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Doing that. I mean, this all led on. I mean, you were running a number of businesses together, but talk to me more about Speaker Express, which seems to be your main focus.
Yeah. So Speaker Express, you know, the core of everything we do, the heart of everything we do, we love entrepreneurs. We love small business owners. Yes, we do corporate work because we know the power of voice. We know the power of communication. We know the power of it can win you business, right? And when you look at doing something confidently, and I don't mean confidence as in nerves, I mean confidence to pitch, the confidence to speak in a different way, the confidence to communicate stories and show that authenticity of yourself, the ability to communicate a brand message, to win more business, pitch and sell in the right way and raise your profile. We know what difference that can make to your business. We've seen it time and time again, which is why I'm right now, to be honest, it feels like I'm fighting for an industry that people aren't interested a lot, because everyone's fighting for survival right now. Everyone's like, well, yeah, I'd love to speak, but right now I need to save my own business. Well, actually, if you were visible, you had a voice, and you were speaking, actually you would find your business would be doing a lot better because people can connect and relate to you.
Right. How important are social media channels, and do businesses often get preoccupied with trying to be all things to all people instead of focusing on maybe one area?
I think social media it's in our lives. I don't think we can do anything about it, right? I think from a marketing point of view, again, they're ingrained in our lives. I think it is about choosing the one or two that get you the best results.
Sure.
But we call it the octopus marketing. That's how we think of it. You have the one core channel, and then it goes to everywhere else, right? And that's why we think of it like an octopus. And I think what, as a business owner, you have to realize that, again, if you're not on it and you don't have a presence on it, someone else does. And you're better off having a deep presence in one or two than a diluted presence across the board. It's the same with speaking. You know, I get so many people go, well, I'm a speaker. Okay, what do you speak about? I speak about confidence, I speak about mindset, I speak about strategy, I speak about business, I speak about entrepreneurship, I speak about book writing. It's like, whoa, it's too much. How can anyone even book you? Versus, you know, I'm the absolute expert, like yourself, you know, in X, right? I am the business expert, and my expertise is business growth, business strategy, and business sustainability. That's all I talk about, and that's all I'm going, you know. If you go too thin, then you're diluted. People will go, oh, you're vanilla, you blend in. That's just what happens.
And people often feel that, oh, well, if I try to narrow my market down, I won't get any business, where in fact the opposite is quite true.
Exactly. Absolutely. Same as when you're using speaking as a marketing strategy.
Well, one of the things that sort of pressed me, and you mentioned it just kind of, you brushed over it in the earlier part of the interview, was dyslexia and coming through a time when people sort of didn't recognize it or understand it really. How has that influenced your life?
It's a great question. The way it's influenced my life, I think because I'm dyslexic and I came at a time where it wasn't widely common. I was thought as lazy, learn to write. Well, it's hard for me. I mean, I still can't write. I can't read joint writing at all. It's hard for me to read numbers on buses. And people just thought I was being lazy. Oh, come on, you can do it. Or isn't there a pill for that? It's like, no, there's no pill for dyslexia. Teachers thought I was lazy. My parents didn't believe me, and I think because of that, I've always had to think of coping ways. So I've always been solution driven. And
Sure.
because I was solution driven, it's allowed me to always see the solution in challenges. And so the way it's influenced me, because my brain doesn't quite process information as a normal brain will, then I'm always thinking slightly differently, and I'm always seeing things slightly differently. Therefore, my solutions are also very practical, but I'm very much a solution mindset because of that.
Yeah, and some people want to use this as a crutch to excuse themselves in life. What it appears from your side is you've more embraced it to understand the diversity it brings to you, and what then that allows you to bring to business.
Yeah, I mean, I refuse to use anything as a crutch in life. Generally, I mean, we can all find so many things in our lives. Why not? But I just want to use it as a why yes. I want to use it as a stepping stone towards better things, and it's just about figuring out how to work around it.
I think there's a certain irony. A person who openly discusses having dyslexia and the challenges it presents itself to has written 4 books. So,
Yeah,
tell us how you surmounted that challenge.
Well, again, it was about coming up with solutions. So what I came up with a system that allowed me to do it, and it's very simple. I'm happy to share it. Shall I share it?
Yes, love to hear it.
Cool. So what I did is I would take, I'll take the chapter heading, and then I'll take 5 key bullet points I want to cover in the chapter. And then for 20 minutes, I would write 3 sentences in each bullet point. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 for 20 minutes, and I'd stop. I wouldn't edit. I wouldn't look at the grammar. I wouldn't look at spelling. I would just write. And then I'd go back again the next day and write for 20 minutes, 3 sentences. And, so you're going 1 bullet point 3, 1 bullet point 3, 1 bullet point 3, but you're continuously doing that.
Yes.
And then once you've done it, I think I said to myself, I'll do it for 10 days. Once I've done it for 10 days, then you go back, look at grammar, look at spelling. And what you find is you've written a chapter. And that's how I did it. And then what happens is after you've done it for a while, your brain suddenly rewires, and then you're just able to, it just lets it out. But then if I'm ever stuck, I'll just go back to that system. So the first book is really bad, to be honest. The second book's a lot better because I co-authored that. So she really helped. The third book is okay. And then I feel this book, we really, really worked on the language on the last book, Speak, Influence, Sell.